What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Honest Tattooer podcast. My name is John Mesa, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Truiano.
Hey, how you doing?
And a very special and very talented guest artist. And for those that don't know you, let them know your name, where you're from, how long you've been tattooing, and what kind of tattoos do you do?
My name is Zlata, but like in Instagram world, I'm Goldy Z. What was the other questions?
People usually are like, what?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Well, originally from Russia. I've been living in New York for 13 years now.
Okay.
So I've been a little bit in here, and I've been tattooing for like 7.5.
7.5 years. And what kind of tattoos do you specialize in?
Black and gray realism, like micro-realism, if you want to call it that. Like small portrait, like not too big scale. I don't know.
I don't know if I would call it micro. They're tiny.
Sometimes it's pretty micro.
Yeah?
It gets very tiny.
Okay.
Like when people want like a photograph with the small family member faces, and it gets.
I always think of like the overall picture being micro. Like a micro would be like the whole thing would fit on like your thumb.
Medium detailed, very detailed.
Well, I would call it micro because I feel like the kind of work that you do, it's probably as small as you could possibly even get that done and still actually look good. So it's like that's on the micro end of tattooing for sure in my book.
Sometimes it's a decent size. Sometimes it gets smaller. It depends, but definitely not like a large scale.
No, do you do small because that's what you enjoy, or is it just like why did you go for the small route? Is it what people ask for?
I don't know. It just kind of happened. Like when I started tattooing, I didn't know anything at all. Like kind of like just throw myself in there. And that was like, I guess, time period, like when people like small things. Mm-hmm. And I always like to do portraits, and somehow like I morphed into portraits, but they're stayed smaller scale. And I'm still, like it's been years, but still testing out like how small you can actually get without, it look bad or anything like that. So people a lot of times don't want to commit for like a big piece, and they still want like their family member portraits. So it's kind of like very narrow niche, like when it's like taking up a small space, but it's still, look like a person.
Cool.
Yeah.
Doing things small stresses me out.
Oh man, it totally does. It's like the margin, the margin for error is like, man, it's intense.
Yeah. You cannot breathe when you do small detail. You're like,
man, I was watching a video of this guy talking about, he does like the world's smallest paintings.
Yeah.
And he's literally taking like dust fibers and painting with those dust fibers. And that's his brush. Like the thickest thing he'll do is like an eyelash will be his paintbrush. And there's like, oh, sometimes that's too thick. I got to go for like I got to find like a piece of dust floating in the air and use that.
What?
And you can only see them in like under a microscope.
Oh,
that's mad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to get tattoo requests like that. You have no idea how many people like push for like as tiny as possible.
I believe it.
And when you try to talk them out of it, like go bigger, like on the certain spots, you have to, and they still insist on tiny.
Yeah.
How do you approach somebody that asks for something that's too small to then kind of educate them on the reasons why you're not going to be able to do it that small?
Well, I talk to them usually, like I explain why it's not recommended, especially it's like, okay, so on this particular spot with like your particular like skin, like maybe it's rough or something, this size, it might be too small for it to like heal good and age well. And when you talk to people, most of the people, they listen and they're take your advice on like maybe put it in another spot, maybe reconsider like the background, no background kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But some people are very set in their ways, and I talk to them many, many, many times over. Reconsider, it's not going to heal good. I can go as tiny as possible, but I recommend you to do certain thing. And if they're not, I'm like, okay, so then like I told you, it's not going to heal good. Like just remember that you will have to come back for touch-ups.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the same way I think about it, of like, there's artists that would be like, well, if you're not willing to budge and do it how I see it, then I'm not going to do it. And I think it's their body and it's their,
some people have very specific vision.
Yeah.
They're like, I want this to be this size and no bigger. And then, like I have a lot of clients who are flying in and I'm like, you will have to fly again. Like there's no way around it. Like it's this or that. That's it.
I feel like there's the two camps, right? Of like, there's the artist that goes, well, I can't do it that small. And the client goes, well, that's as small as I want it, So then the artist's like, well, I don't want to put my reputation on the line for a tattoo. And I don't know. I've always, at one point in my career, I thought about things like that. And then I'm like, what am I talking about, dude? Like really how much of my work is compromised because I made one person really happy by doing it, by giving them the tattoo that they wanted.
That's just it. Like, how many of those people do they get the tattoo that they want?
Yeah.
If it does not heal the way that you want it to as the artist, and some of it either falls out or just mushes together, I doubt that person is really going to go around like shit talking you online. Like, oh, look what this guy did.
I doubt
terrible.
it.
Yeah. They're probably still stoked about that tattoo.
They're probably stoked about it. They're like, I got what I wanted and I love it.
Especially like when people ask for like something that's very meaningful to them, like family member portrait or something, even if it's super tiny, or it's it can be a family picture that is not a good quality.
Yeah.
And it's like blur out whatever. And I talk to them as like, it's gonna look exactly like this as a tattoo. It's gonna be blurry. It's gonna be looking like this picture, but that's what they want. They want the memory of it. They want the feel of it. So like for them, a picture itself is meaningful. So when they have like it on their body, even if it's like doesn't heal like as perfect as I would like for them, it's still,
it's still exactly what they envision.
Yeah. It reminds them of this time or their person or their moment. Yeah.
I think it's important to just remember that no matter what kind of tattoos you're doing them for a person, and they're going to look at that tattoo way more than you ever will.
And they're going to look at it way different than you would too.
Yeah. So I think it's, it's sometimes like the ego of the artist thinking that it's like, like they're making Picassos on people and, and that people are going to be like, yeah, I got this from this person. And it's like, oh, it doesn't look like the other stuff he's done.
Yeah.
And then it's like an issue.
Because I'd hate to break it to everybody out there, but as many followers as you have on Instagram, I guarantee that all the people that person's showing on the street or like their family members have no idea who you are.
They have no idea.
Yeah. No. Like, who did that?
Who?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And then that's it. They'll never hear of you again.
Go cool. Looks nice. Looks nice. And I doubt that person's also going to carry that photograph that they used as reference to be like, look at this. Yeah. Check it out right here. Like, I'm going to put that right next to my arm so you can compare and contrast, dude. I feel like it's rare.
If you remember, a few weeks back, we had Ed from Tattoo Armor on the podcast, and he was able to hook us up with a discount code for our followers. So Tattoo Armor is literally the best way to wrap your client. I've been using it, Matt's been using it, and it's just awesome. There's no mess, there's no glue, and it's just super comfortable. I hope you can try it for yourself, and just go on to Tattoo Armor and use the code Honest Tattooer for 20% off your order.
After I got the chance to sit down with Matt and John on the Honest Tattooer podcast, the Force of Focus got amazing feedback when it comes to the Hello to Healed process, networking strategies, and most of all, creating your own personal brand and culture. So I want to give you the opportunity to take 15% off by coming to join the Force of Focus arena. Now, this is a community of high-achieving tattoo artists who are all here for one reason: to be around like-minded individuals who all want to grow not only in our personal lives, but within our businesses. We're going to walk with you side by side to build out every system you could ever imagine to not only ensure the fact you're on the right path, but how to be able to see your dream life and then achieve it. Now, I have a laundry list of artists who have been able to achieve their dreams, and if you're ready to do the same, click the link below and let's get a conversation going.
So back to 8 years ago.
Okay.
You said you've been tattooing for 7.5, right?
Yeah.
So 8 years ago, where were you at in life, and how did tattooing, how did that come into the picture?
So I'm an architect by my degree. So I worked as an architect for like 8 more years or something like that. So I worked as an architect in Russia. And then when I moved here, I worked with architects because you have to have like a whole another licensing process.
Yes.
And so I was more like doing like blueprints for people. I did murals. I did like everything you can do, like AutoCAD, the drafting, whatever programs.
Going from murals to micro tats is crazy.
I know.
I mean, the drawing was always my favorite thing to do ever. Like portraits with a pencil, that's all I want to do all day, every day. And now I can do it, but not quite pencil. But so I've been working with a couple architects. I would go to like a place, measure it, like do like a blueprint or whatever. And sometimes I did like a custom furniture designing or like something like not crazy, like involved, like you don't have to have like a separate license for it. And I always loved tattoos, like on people. Like I would stare at people just like sitting next to me, like on the train or whatever. Love tattoos. So one day, some relative of an architect I worked with, it was like a young kid who had like one of those Instagram pages who like post all the tattoos. So I met with him and he was like, so you have a nice camera, right? And there's like a tattoo convention happening. How about you bring your camera and I'll be like interviewing people or just going around and you take pictures for me. I'm like, cool, let's go. Like I have zero idea about any of the like tattoo world or artists or like styles or techniques. So whatever he had on his page, it was like all kinds of like black and gray, like color, realistic, geometric, everything was super cool. I'm like, wow, I would like to see like in person how it happened. So I went with him. We went, it was, I forget, it's like in the airplane museum. It's like a Westchester, maybe.
Oh no, that was Mesa.
That was the
Flight 911.
The flight, was it Flight 911?
Yeah, it was Flight 911.
Okay, so that thing.
Yeah.
So I went there with him and I was walking around and he was like pointing artists out and was like, oh, this guy's sick with like, I don't know, mandalas or like, this is like a guy great at blah, blah, blah. And I was like kind of nodding along. And we came across of like one Russian speaking tattoo artist there. And this guy started showing my work, my drawings. I used to do like a bunch of body paintings on people for events or editorials or something like that. And he was showing my work and he was like, you should teach her how to tattoo. She'll be good at it. And the guy goes, okay.
That's easy.
I'm like, wait a second, like what? So he told me to come over to his shop on a certain date and just like, we'll talk. So I'm going there with no idea what I'm getting myself into. So we talk. And so his proposal was, how about you draw designs for me? I'm going to post them on the shop's page. And if someone wants those designs, I'm going to do them. But in return, I'll teach you basics. Okay. I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. So I applied for my license the first day before even I did anything. So it was like the first day I went in, I filled out the whatever. So it took for the license probably like 2 months, the whole thing, like with the exam and everything.
Yeah, you have to take that exam.
And meanwhile, I was just like in the shop doing like a couple designs a day, just following people around, like watching what they're doing. I tried, like I remember my first ever thing was on a banana. Do not recommend.
No.
It's very mushy. It's just like collapses on itself. So I tried on those practice skins and then like after I got my license, I asked like for friends of a friends of a friends of a friends who want free tattoo. Mm-hmm. So I tried probably on a couple of people and I already start posting my design on Instagram and people start liking them. And somehow I managed to like book a few of my designs and I pretty much start working after being 2 months in the shop.
Look at that.
What kind of designs were these that you were making? And then the ones that you were doing for the guy who was teaching you also?
So it was more, I don't remember why. Like I knew nothing about what's possible or what's not. So it was a lot of like dot work. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of like lines. I can show you afterwards. There's like a lot of geometric elements.
Okay.
With like maybe like a bird or a flower or like, I don't know, like a fish or something. And then sometimes I use like red accents on it. Like one line would be red or something like that. So I start booking designs and I booked more, I posted, and also start going to like tattoo conventions. And somehow it just kind of like, how you call it? Roll. Teach me some English.
It snowballed.
Yes.
Yeah, it snowballed. It just started kind of getting
rowboat.
So it started snowballing, and you started getting a lot more.
So I was, a lot of people liked my designs, and I was doing like more flower compositions, and I started getting like requests for something more specific. But it's still like I still worked in very much street shop. So there was like rotation system, like one walk-in comes in, and the shop was like on the West 4th Street stop.
Yeah.
And it was like so many drunk people, insane people. Like it was just crazy people you have to deal with. And some of the people would bring like something that they want, and it would be some very warped tattoo from Pinterest, and they're like, I want exactly the same thing. I'm like, let me make it like look good.
Yeah.
So I would redraw tattoos that like people would bring me like to make them look nice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And those tattoos start to be popular on Instagram, and that's it.
Cool. So a couple of days ago, I asked online what apprentices can do to make money during their apprenticeship. And some people were saying, oh, you could draw flash and have the other artists at the shop tattoo it. And that way, maybe you can make some money off the back end of that or whatever. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I never heard of an apprentice painting flash that actually got tattooed by some of the other artists, especially the shop owner too. Now that you did that, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was the first time I've ever heard that before.
Well, I didn't do like traditional apprenticeship. I never like, I didn't have like duties except like actually drawing designs. I didn't like have to clean. I helped around, like everybody would just come in and clean and whatever, but I never had like to have to do it.
Right.
So my only responsibility was to like draw things.
Just draw.
Yeah.
Were you getting paid during that time?
No.
Yeah.
No, I was
Well, if you
there.
weren't
I was
doing anything, why
very
are you getting paid?
enthusiastic. I was happy to be there. I was like, give me everybody. Okay, drunk people from the street.
Let's
Come
do
on
it.
in. You want like a gothic letter on your throat? It was not throat, but still, like you want like whatever infinity signs with the bird flying out. Come on in. Like I'll do it. I want to practice.
So the shot was basically just like walk-in heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a very basic, not very nice.
That's cool though. That's awesome.
And this is 20, what year is this? 7 years ago?
27.
Was it
17?
17?
17.
2017. I feel like there was such a good era of tattooing between, I'm going to see like in the 2010s, I guess.
I feel like it's all been good, man.
I mean, it's been up and down, especially when you talk to people that have been tattooing like before that. They were like, oh, like that wasn't great. And then it was like good. And then it wasn't great again.
Yeah.
So there's always waves to any industry, you know?
Of course.
And I feel like right now, you know,
Right now, it's not that great.
not the best.
Not the best.
Not the best, but still not bad. You can still do tattoos and get paid for them. And I think that's a pretty wonderful thing to be able to do.
Yep.
There's still people willing to pay money. I think there's just fewer than there were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
At least spend a lot of money.
Spending a lot of money. Yeah. And I think tattoos are super popular now, but not as like, you know, like the people get smaller tattoos. I would say like more than ever.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And if you do smaller tattoos, like for example, one thing is doing like just a small tattoo, but you do very small, very intricate tattoos. So it's, even though it's smaller in size, it's still like substantial amount of time and work to put into something like that.
Yeah. How long do those take you on average?
I mean, my small session, like very short one, would be like 3.5 hours, maybe 4. So it's very rarely I do like 3-hour tattoos. It probably would be like a dog portrait or something, just a head. But usually it's 4 and up.
And I saw one of your tattoos on, I was in upstate New York, and I saw somebody with a few tattoos, and I was like, oh man, that was like a small portrait. I was like, that looks really good. And I was like, I'm sorry, who did that tattoo? And they told me you did it.
Oh.
And I was like,
do you remember what tattoo was it?
I don't remember what tattoo it was. I think it was like maybe the portrait of a man, and I think it was her father. And it was really, really good. And it was healed, and it was smooth. Oh. So smooth.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. so smooth. And the contrast of it was so like rich, you know? It's like if you had like Ty Harris contrast when it was like real nice, but just small.
Small.
Yeah. Really small. So kudos.
Thank you.
And it was really, really good. And that, you know, and I'd seen your work online, but one thing is like, I've seen a lot of people's work online, and then I'll see them in the real world, and I'm like,
oh boy, don't get this.
Well, and I feel like, you know, people that get smaller tattoos, like, you know, the kind of work that you do, you must seen other really small tattoos, because they like to collect work from other artists that do that kind of work. So you've already probably seen firsthand work like that, where you're like, oh man.
Yeah, but also, you know, it's very, especially with small tattoos, it's a very big responsibility of a client to take care of it good. So like if you put on Saniderm and go sweat somewhere, it's going to fade a lot. It's going to look not very nice. So like it's always worries me, like if, you know, like if client will be able to take care of it in proper way. So when I see like tattoo that doesn't heal good, like from other artists, you can still usually see like if it's done well, but like certain parts are like, you know, faded or whatever. So it can be like just like one touch up and it's gonna look great. But sometimes I see work that I'm like, ooh, who did that?
What happened?
And yeah.
That's the worst, when you see work from people that you really admire and their online portfolio looks great, but then you see it in the flesh and you have that reaction like, oh,
like, oh man.
Yeah, like so upsetting.
I had like both ends of spectrum, you know, like when you see it's like, oh, what happened? And the guy was like, oh, you know, the guy is great. I just went to vacation like that the next day. I'm like,
why would you do that?
Yeah, I'm like, okay. It's like, I guess your money, it's your body, but like, yeah, why would you do that ever? So it's like, you can't really judge the person's work based on that.
For one tattoo. I wouldn't say for one tattoo.
Yeah, for one tattoo. But on the other hand, I've seen people who like got tattoos from like Instagram famous people, and they're like
rough.
Yes. I especially like, I'm like a portrait nerd. Like for me, it's very important. If like doesn't matter how small the tattoo is, I look at the face. If it's like a person or a sculpture or something, if something's off with the like eyes like lower than the other one, or something's off, like I'm like, you can't say like no, it's not good.
So you were an architect, or you went to school for architecture. Where did the, you know, because I feel like that's so technical, but where did like the art part of everything start for you?
Since I was a kid.
Since you were a little kid.
Yeah, I was drawing as long as I remember. And at some point I started sitting down my family members to draw their portraits. And then when the VCR was a thing, you remember those like bright, colorful, like packaging. It's like Titanic. I would draw that, like, or, you know, like any cool picture I see, like, oh, I want to draw that. So for me, it's like kind of, I guess, copying like someone's face, or like some sort of a shape or texture. That's what I like.
Did you ever take any formal training in classes, or is it all just kind of self-taught?
I mean, mostly self-taught, but like in architecture, like in college, you have to have like classes. You have to have, it's very different from like photorealistic or whatever. It's like very technical graphic drawings and like paintings and stuff. But I think my parents got me to like a art school when I was a little kid, but they kind of kicked me out because I didn't like to listen to teacher. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't like the way you do it. I like my way better, you know? So it didn't really last long.
I took art classes for a little while, and then the studio that I was taking classes at, the instructor asked me if I wanted to be a teacher for like the smaller kids.
Aw.
And I thought I was going to really like it, but then there were kids like that and I didn't know how to handle it. I was like, well, this is how we're doing it. And they're like, no, I'm doing it my way. I'm like, all right.
I can't. You're like, I can't. No way.
I was like 14.
So when someone brings you a portrait of, like what you explained earlier, like a really bad photo, to me, that's usually like I'm like, man, I don't know about this photo. You know, like if something, sometimes people will bring you like a little tiny, like a passport photo.
Oh yeah.
Or like a blurry photo from just an actual like old school camera that is just, you know, how do you go about simplifying that enough, but still keeping enough of the true likeness of the person? Do you scan the photo and like do a little bit of adjusting it so you can get the most out of that image? Or?
Well, first of all, there's a limit. There is a limit of ridiculousness of like how bad the
how bad the photo is.
I have like a couple of very interesting examples what people send me. Like it would be like 2 pixels for the eyes, and you know, and it's like I usually zoom in, do a screenshot, and like my assistant send it back, kind of like we need better picture.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. But with the bad pictures, first of all, I talk to the client that's like, you cannot expect me to render this picture better than it's on the photo, because that's what you're gonna get. Like it's blurry. If it's like meaningful to you, the photo itself, it's gonna look like that. It's not gonna, you know. But when I do the stencil, I use like, you know, like the stencil programs or Procreate or something. But then I usually draw on top of them with my hand to see what needs to be added to the stencil. So I usually like do like a sketch on top of the stencil, and then I know what I need to add when I actually print it. So I guess like the whatever spots on the picture, I just copy those.
Okay, so almost doing like, you go by the photo, but then doing like almost your own little value study of like where things should be a little bit more exaggerated because the photo doesn't have it.
I have to study it before I do it, because otherwise, when stencil pick up on certain things, they might be not visible in the picture, or might be like in the wrong place or whatever, like a little shifted. So I like to be precise as I can. So I need to like draw first and see, okay, so like on the stencil, it didn't recognize this like shadow or shape or something. So I need to correct that part. And with the difficult pictures, it helps.
Before stencil programs, did you do ever like manual stencils?
All the time, yes. I had a tracing paper, and I would do the tracing on a bigger scale, and then I would do like in the printer, I would scale it to the size.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, man, I was like trying to do like a small manual stencil. Sounds terrifying.
I have like a full drawer of those like little tracing papers.
Oh, those tracing paper stencils.
Should frame them.
yeah. I feel like now with the programs to make stencils simpler, they save so much time.
I don't like them, man.
Yeah, I know you don't like them, but I got used to them.
I feel like it doesn't give you the correct information all the time.
That's why I do studies.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It'll either add things that are just like not supposed to be there, or not have the information that you want. Yeah, I don't like it at all.
That's why I think it's like a happy medium of like, I try to do the program. Well, usually when I'm going to do a portrait, I'm going to grab the photo. I'm going to try to simplify the photo so it has like a nice balance of like solid blacks, a mid-tone, and a good amount of skin. And then I'm going to run it through the program and see what it gives me. If I feel like I'm missing some things, then I might then like manually add some things over the original photo, not the one that I manipulated.
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on the style of work. There's no reason for me to need that anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just seeing your stencils, I'm like, what the fuck is it?
Sometimes I like a nice little.
It's a puzzle.
Yeah, but it's like I see it. It's one of those weird things. Like
as long as it makes sense to you.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, it's messy, but yeah, I see it. I see what's going on here.
It's also like when I it doesn't matter the program, or like I sometimes get crazy stencils. Like you look at them and you're like, oh, what is that? And when I work, like I know exactly what is what. So for me, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, what do you use for your main work? Probably like a small 3-liner for almost everything.
I mean, it depends. It's very much depends. Sometimes people want like, thankfully, like bigger scale.
Yeah.
Then it's like, yeah. Sometimes like single needle for a little bit, but not. I don't do like full single needle tattoos.
I've tried using single needles and I just can't get good ink flow out of them.
Yeah, me too.
It takes time to like get used to those, but once you do, it's not really a big deal.
Using the rotary.
I use like a wireless. What do I use right now? Bishop.
Oh, the wand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good machine.
That's the one I've never tried it. I've had ever since I used the Hawk, I'm like, oh, this one works.
Yeah, I mean they're good. I got 2 of them. I don't use them anymore.
Hawk
but
pen?
they're good.
Yeah, the Hawk pen.
I used to have that before Bishop. Yeah. I think over time though, it like lost its power, I guess.
That's the motors, they eventually burn out.
Yeah.
But the one that I've had it, I feel like for at least 8 years already.
Has it been that long?
Maybe.
You're 3.5?
Yeah. I got that one from Skeety maybe not 8, maybe 5 or 6.
All right.
Too long.
Can we talk about this 5.6 that you were telling me about before?
Oh yeah. So this is wild. So I have a 5mm stroke machine and it lines well, but it still doesn't feel like what, like a Cuban feels like the punchiness on it. Like it's good. It's punchy, but not punchy enough where like it has that really nice snap. And I saw this machine from a company called Mother, made in Italy. And it has a 5.6mm stroke, which is
Pierce the skin.
oh man, that is so much, right? Like, but then I watched the videos of this guy using it. One thing that it does have that's different is that it has like a magnetic like drive bar. So like when I don't know if like the back of like the drive bar is it's like polarized with the wheel that's going around.
Okay.
Because so there is no like direct contact of that, but it's pushing it forward every time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then what's pulling it back? Is there a magnet on the other side?
No, I'm not sure.
Or is it a spring?
Maybe a spring. I don't know. But it looks really good. I was like, damn. I saw this dude just pull. It looked like a 14 at least, but it looked like an 18. It's just a massive liner.
And it's just like,
Oh, it was like butter on this dude's side of his head doing some like geometric, like, stuff. And I was like, oh, I remember how it felt to just pull one. It was the speed that he was doing it that felt good.
the only machine that I was ever able to pull 14s like that super clean with was with a Tommy Haley.
Oh, a nice punchy,
Yeah.
long stroke coil machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
I miss those days too, but I don't miss the weight of a coil machine. I definitely don't miss the sound of a coil machine. Oh man.
Yeah. You see, like I came in later. So I don't know the sound. I don't know the feeling.
So you started with a rotary from the beginning.
Yep.
Nice.
I don't think I will be so brave to jump into tattooing if it was like old timey, like, you know, like you said, Cuban or whatever. So when I was in college, probably first or second year, so like I always loved tattoos. And I was really curious about like the way it works. And back then it was like, you know, like the industry, you like have to like really get in, like there was like only certain ways. So a friend of a friend, like father, he was a tattoo artist in some like small town in the middle of Russia. So I went there to kind of like meet him and see what it's like and like maybe see if I can do it. So this guy, he looked like, you know, like very old-timey, stereotypical, you know, like a biker looking guy with like the beard and the little red tail or whatever you call it. Leather vest. Yeah, like old tattoos.
Guys from ZZ Top right now.
That's what you're picturing me. I'm wearing a leather vest. I got my hair all like that.
I was really hoping you were going to wear the hat.
So you need to get a couple more gray hairs, beer belly, and maybe you'll get there.
I'll get there.
Yeah. So this guy looked very intimidating, but he was a sweetheart. So he showed me where he works, and it was in the apartment. It's like one of the rooms in the apartment. It was like dedicated for the tattoos. It was like, the room was so small. It was the tattoo bed on one side, and it was the whole length of the room. And it's probably was like a square something. So it was like this bed, a table, like a desk with remember those books with the, like a rose, a panther, like whatever, like
nice
very
flash book.
Yeah, nice flash book, like very thick one. And there was a guy getting tattooed when I came in, and the guy was like very bulky guy in the military pants. Like I assumed he was military guy, and he was like getting tattooed on his chest. It was like thick black outline with like some red filling, whatever. And he was like, I still remember he was like laying there. The guy was tattooing him, and it was like blood dripping. And the guy was like silently like tearing up. and the sound of the machine was like, you can probably hear it outside. Yeah, it was like a jet motor. And I was petrified. I was like, oh my God. And it looked like the guy was like torturing this person, because he's like bleeding and crying, and he looks like a guy who's been through things.
Yeah.
If Gabe was here, he'd be like, hell yeah, that's how tattoo shop
that
should
sounds
be.
like a tattoo shop.
And I was like, oh, okay, so I don't think I can do this ever. To me, the scariest thing was like sticking a needle in a person. And it kind of like postponed my tattoo artist career for years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah, I feel like
that.
Even with like clients, when I'm tattooing people, they always ask me, they're like, why does his machine sound so loud over there? I'm like, it sounds more painful. I'm like, it's the same. Don't worry about it. It's just loud.
Yeah, it's like going to tattoo conventions, and some people would be very quiet. Some people would be like, "Wah."
Yeah.
That's a wild thing now, to go to a convention and it's so much more quiet than it
So
used to
quiet.
be. There are days where I'll walk in like early in the morning and think that, nobody started tattooing yet. But then you start looking and there's a lot of people tattooing.
Working. Yeah. It's just quiet.
Yeah, quiet.
It's quiet. Different times. But I don't know. I feel like tattooing is something that, the evolution has been kind of slow. And then all of a sudden, like, it went really fast in the past, like 10, 12 years. Because I feel like tattooing was exactly the same for so long. And then it just went with the cartridges. I think that started making things simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah, the machines, the cartridges. I think it's so much easier.
Yeah, machine, cartridges, now like stencil makers, now like all these other tools. There's so many tools to be able to make it a little bit easier to apply what you see. If you're an artist, you can make some cool stuff. Yeah. But also a lot easier for somebody who's not a good artist to go fuck some shit up.
But also like it gives people who like some weird artists who can do like good artwork. There are some people, there's industry for it. Like there's like a niche for weird looking tattoos. Like people just scribble like or whatever, and they somehow get people in the door.
That is absolutely true. That I know that, there's like, that hurts to some like, true like craftsman tattooists, then it's like, man, I've been working to get my lines so crispy for the last 10 years. And then some kids like booked out for months, just freaking doing like some jagged old janky shit.
On top of the jagged line work from being tattooed, just the drawing itself.
And the drawing itself. Yeah.
Like, man, I spent so much time trying to make sure that my drawing is tight.
Yeah.
And then these guys are just doing
I don't mind when drawings are like silly looking on purpose, but well done. Versus like when people try to pass it on as like high art and everything is like perfect and it's supposed to be like that. But there's no technique. There's no like it feels like shit. And
it's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace. Somebody sent me something about a tattoo lawsuit. So a guy went, I don't want to name the shop, but a guy went to a very well-known shop in New York City.
Is it before you don't want to name, is that something that's already public information?
Yeah, it is public information.
Name names.
Yeah, I'll name names. All right. So this guy went to Inked, NYC, and they wanted to get a back piece. They brought like images of the back piece that they wanted. It's like this, like, like Renaissance painting of like an angel with a bunch of more. It's like gnarly, and then he brought a picture of the back piece, and I guess the
door's locked up there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They set him up with an artist, and about, I don't know how many sessions in, maybe 3 sessions in, 3 or 2, but the guy was just completely unhappy because it wasn't looking good, and the guy had spent $7,500 already into this tattoo, and if you saw it, which I can pull it up, show you guys. It's pretty fucking fucked up that guy paid $7,500 to get what he was getting, which is exactly what you're talking about, where it's like, it's supposed to be super anatomically perfect and pretty and well rendered. And it was just not.
It was jacked.
It was jacked. Man. And it's like, it's not bad, but it's not like what the guy was looking for.
But there are only 2 or 3 sessions in. Is it something that's like in progress and that's why it's looking right now?
No.
You can just tell from the rip.
You can tell that's where it was going.
Okay.
I mean, like, this guy was smart in stopping it early on.
I've had a couple of people email me with in progress pieces and be like, oh man, I'm not happy with the direction that this is going. You think you could finish it for me? And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, it's probably going to be okay. Just let the artist finish it, because it looks like it's going in the right direction, but it just doesn't look great right now because it's in progress. But they don't see it that way.
I've seen things like that too, but it's like a matter of like, oh, this drawing is jacked, dude. I'm sorry.
I mean,
there's no coming back from this drawing. Like, it's on the bed. You should have stopped at like, bro, this drawing is looking jacked, dude. Like,
okay, if you do a painting, there is no drawing. That's the drawing.
Yeah.
How you mess that up?
Like if you're copying,
it's you copying a painting, right? Like you just need to do a stencil. Stencil's already in proportion, so like I get like you can mess up like the faces and the shadows, but it's not the drawing.
Yeah, the proportions should still be there. I don't know. Unless this guy tried to redraw it instead of just tracing the
some
painting.
people, yeah. I have a very cute story about it was this girl was apprenticed at this like walking shop, and she's great. She's fantastic, and she was just starting, and she brought her like, I guess, friends or friends of friends to get like small something to get practice, and I remember she put a stencil on this guy. It was like a Roman numeral something. So this guy put his arm on the armrest, and the stencil gets lopsided. And she was like, oh no. And she tattoos it straight with the guy's arm like that. So she fixed the stencil.
Yeah.
And obviously when he stood up,
now it's crooked.
But it was, thank God it was like a tiny, and he knew what he's getting himself into. She just like started like a week ago or something. But it was very funny. That's
exactly what I think about when you go to a very reputable shop, right? And like, if this shop prides itself onto like, like all these celebrities have gotten tattooed here and we're top dollar and they charge a lot for their tattoos, you're expecting top service, you know? It's not like if you go to somebody that's like, oh, I've been tattooing for like 2 years, I'll give you a sweet deal on it, you know, and I'll do your back piece for cheap. You took the risk, and if it's not great, that person might be like, it's fine, but I got a sweet deal on it though, you know?
Also, you said like this guy went to the shop and they put him together with the artist. He didn't pick the artist.
I'm not 100% sure, but here, I want to show you where it was at, where it was going, because this is it.
Is the lawsuit with the shop or with the artist?
So this is what they sued the shop. I don't know if they also, I know that the artist is also named in the lawsuit, but like that's what he asked for. That's what he wanted.
Oh, okay. This is what he asked.
That's what he wanted. Yeah. Which is pretty sick.
Okay, so it's not a painting that he.
Oh, okay. Can I see?
Yeah, he brought a tattoo. He's like, I really like this tattoo. I want this.
Okay, I guess there is a paint. It gotta be painting behind it.
Yeah, it's from a painting.
Okay, if I scroll, can I?
Yeah, you can scroll through it, and then you'll see kind of like where he was at, and then the process that kind of was made before he was like, "This is not."
So without seeing the in progress piece now, I'm wondering, did the artist just trace it straight off of that back piece and get all the contours of the other guy's body in his stencil?
I feel like it's a high probability, dude. I feel like that probability is high.
Or did he just try to look at that back piece and draw it? And he's not that great of a drawer.
I mean, there's like
It's not a drawer.
there's like at least 5 bodies in this composition, and in the most wild poses where it's like, dude, you better be
Well, first of all, if you go to a person and bringing someone else's tattoo, and if they tattoo off of that tattoo,
red flag.
throw this artist in the trash.
Yeah.
Red flag immediately.
Yeah, I love this. Whatever that.
I know.
Like what?
But I don't think clients think that way. They see a tattoo that they like oh, I want that. You're an artist. You should be able to do it too. And that there is no like.
Yeah, I mean, like if it's if it's like a tattoo of a painting, you kind of like
You can find the painting for reference.
You find the painting exactly, and you work from
the same reference.
you work from the same reference. You
may not have the same outcome.
exactly.
Could have your own distinct look to it.
But you get correct proportions. You get, the depth or whatever. And you might make it better than this other artist did. But this is...
So yeah, let's see the...
I'm judging.
Do you want to see the... I know. I was like, oh, that sucks, dude. Yeah. All right. So look, start scrolling down on that.
Oh, it was all in here?
Yeah, that's all in it.
Okay.
The full story is on there.
Since we do pictures, I want to show you one of the requests I got. I kept one picture, for example, and I think it's brilliant.
Oh, the hands.
Like, oh man.
What is this thing that looks like a bat? Or what's this like little animal face?
Something that looks like a bat, but it's not a bat?
It's, open to interpretation, I guess.
Oof.
I know.
Yeah, it looks like a bat, right? With a very long jaw, or that maybe he's just
Yeah, it's a creature.
You know what though? I think a really good artist could probably rescue that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because he stopped it early enough that it's like it's probably like gray lines, and somebody that knows what they're doing can probably rescue that. But he learned that $7,500 later.
Well, okay, rescue that. But if this person traced someone else's tattoo already on the back of a person, so proportions of those like angels or whatever, it's probably not,
Yeah, and I'm just saying that based on like how little is done off of it, but I can't, it's one of those things like I got to see it in person in real life to see what's going on there. But it's like, oh man,
Nah, man, some of those hands look like AI hands. Like that's how terribly they're drawn.
Well, like one thing that like the perspective of like the main angel is completely different than the one in the image.
It looks like it's mirrored, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's mirrored. It just looks like it's a mirrored thing.
Yeah.
Either he just took the picture, it was like, nobody will know.
It's not copying if I go the other direction.
It's the other way, bro.
Nobody's gonna know. Gonna know.
Oh man, I think like my favorite part is this little thumbs up. This angel, this angel right here just giving. Yes.
It's like what was Seinfeld, like Elaine dancing.
The Elaine dancing. Oh man, it's messed up. But guys, if you're a tattoo client and you're listening to this, hopefully you already have enough information to make better choices than this poor person. But I think it's not enough to just go to a place that has great reviews You know, like, oh, look, all the reviews are great. Like, don't just go off of that. You know, look at every artist that you're talking to, look at their work and look at least some healed work. Because I feel like even in portfolios, you know, you see a lot of like fresh tattoos, but you don't see a lot of healed tattoos. I'm like,
I literally just made a post like a couple of weeks ago, I think, about that. Like, you have to, like, when you look at portfolio on Instagram, you have to be so careful, because not only like a lot of people don't post healed pictures, but some of them post like they modified their photos of their tattoos.
Fully modified photo.
Fully like draw on top of it, like in Procreate or whatever. Colors are different. They overlay faces. Like they take a photo, they take their tattoo and they put like photo face on the tattoo. So it looks like they did such a great job.
Yep.
But in reality, it's
not so much.
Yeah. So like when you zoom in on those works, there's like no pores on people. There's no needle marks. There's like weird.
I showed that to Matt the other day. I was like, dude, look at this tattoo. I was like, you know, I was like, this thing is so Photoshopped. And as soon as you zoomed in, like there was like a full texture over the whole thing, you know, like they were everything in your color. You couldn't see pores. You couldn't see any stroke marks from like the magging of, you know, of the mag just being layered on top of colors. Like it just looked like an airbrushed image.
Sometimes like a larger scale tattoos can look pretty smooth, like from when you look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
But like with the small work and like a bunch of like people who I come across on Instagram usually do like type of work I do, and like this tattoo cannot look smooth without any pores or needle marks. Like you will see them. It's like physically impossible to like erase them or whatever. It can be like certain picture or whatever filter or something, but when it's like looked to the point that it's like just printed on a piece of paper at that size of like a gradient, it's
well, that's where the trickiness of those tattoos are the ones that are getting like, you know, 5,000, you know, likes and reshares, and then that artist is like, oh man, I'm being rewarded for this, and they're like, and then their inbox is full of like another 100 people. They're like, I saw that tattoo and I just thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. You are so incredible. And all these little things that they're getting is just like reinforcing to continue doing this.
Well, they do it because it sells.
Yeah.
And I know some people who actually do like certain things with their, like making pictures look like a little over the top, I guess, but their work is incredible. Like the actual work, they don't need to do that. And I know other people who do that just because they would not, like if like as an artist, if you zoom in and you look, you'll be able to tell. As a person who shops for tattoos or whatever, like it would be like, oh my God, this looks so cool. Wow. Like I want to book with this person. But then when you look at the actual...
But then don't you think that the client who sees the picture online and they're like so amazed, like, oh man, this guy's super talented. I want to get tattooed by this person. And then they get the tattoo and it looks nothing like what the quality of the Instagram portfolio. Don't you think enough of that has got to happen to the point where the guy's like...
So imagine like one of those people who are all about social media. So for them, the mere fact they go into this famous person, they're getting tattoo, and their tattoo is going on Instagram and gets like bajillion likes, even though it doesn't look anything like this. It's like enough validation from them. Like, okay, I paid
Look
this.
How many people liked it.
Yeah. Exactly. This is my tattoo. It doesn't matter. It looks very different, but look at my tattoo. That's my tattoo.
And
it got so, and they hyped up and they they bring more friends, or I don't know. I can see some people, like for some people that being enough.
There was the girl who commented on Pam's post, the friend experience.
Oh, that was crazy, dude.
Or she was saying like, oh, tattoo artists who don't post the tattoos are really hurting the client's feelings. So they should offer the friend experience and tag them online and post pictures of their experience in the shop so that they feel good about getting tattooed, because the tattoo itself is not good enough.
I have so many tattoos that I love that I did. but I have like a pile that's waiting to be posted.
Yeah.
It's just like so much work to constantly post all the time. Sometimes it's just like, I work one day after another. I don't have like time to put the post together or something. And some people ask me, like, are you going to post my tattoo? I'm like, well, I have a bunch of posts like lined up. Like eventually I will.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe one of these days.
Yeah.
Do you take the time and actually put together a nice presentation with your posts?
I'm trying to. Also, like when I take pictures, I guess I'm not very good picture taker or something. Like I need to find the one, like I usually take many pictures. I find the one that I like, that I think looks closer to the original. Because when you take picture with like a polarizer, sometimes it looks like almost fake.
Mm-hmm. Too much.
Yeah. So like I need to find the one that looks natural, like good angle. Like I usually reduce saturation a little bit because blood doesn't appeal to people much. So like it's like a little things, like find a nice crop, find like maybe a close-up, or like maybe I have a video and this video needs to be stabilized because my hands are usually all over the place when I take videos. So like it's like post needs to be presentable.
Yeah.
So like you like pleasure to look at them. So it takes me time. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been considering taking a day and just organizing all of my posts for like the week.
Yeah.
But then I think about like, I don't want to waste a day doing that. I'd rather tattoo, or I'd rather draw for the tattoos. And then I wind up like, I took a couple of couple of shots tonight.
This was good.
This is good enough. I'll just throw one of those up. And then I regret it later.
I've done that too. And then later I'm like, but this photo was so much better. I just didn't look through all of them and take my time, and just like, ugh. And just like a couple of days ago, I was talking to an artist, and they had me look through the portfolio, and I was like, dude, this tattoo's cool, but this picture sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Like this shouldn't be in your portfolio. Like I get it. You're proud of it because you remember what it looked like in real life when it was in like, but this photo is not, it doesn't,
not doing it justice.
It's not doing it justice. And that just takes away from you. And you have to consider that your portfolio is a collection of your greatest hits, of like your favorite, the best of you. If you were thinking that you were going to, get the best job in the world because of what you have in there, like that's how you should approach it. Like I want the best of the best from, not only the quality of the tattoo, but the presentation of the tattoo. That way, like at the end, the person that's looking at it would be like, wow, there was a lot of care and thought put into every aspect of this, even in the order that you choose to present your tattoos. Like when people make an album, they choose, I'm like, oh, that track shouldn't be the second song. That should be the fourth song, because they're trying to create a vibe or a mood or whatever. It's part of your brand. So it's like, if you're, if you're trying to do, if your goal is to specialize in like black and gray portraits, you wouldn't start with a bunch of like neo-trad roses in the beginning of your portfolio. No, you start with like the things that you're really proud of, that you really want to invest your time in, and that you want people to want from you.
Yeah. And also people, I still get requests for like full color something. And like, you've seen my portfolio. That's the portfolio there for a reason, to see what kind of work I do and how do I do it. If you like it, if it's for you, then there is a request, like inquiry, like whatever link. And I still get like people like, oh, I want to like this, but I want the rose to be full color and stuff. I'm like, show me one
example of
color.
that.
Yeah, show me like one example on my portfolio. But you artist, you can do it.
But you're like really good.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, cool. You should find a person who's really good at exactly what you want, not just
Matt's gotten that where they're like, oh man, I love your work. I want you to do this in black and gray. And you're like,
really, guy?
Sick.
That's why X was coming to you for that dragon.
I really like your work, so I want you to do exactly opposite of that.
Yep.
I feel like in a way to them, it's like, oh, it'll be extra special because I got them to do something outside of their norm. And I feel like so many people, like somebody said this to me and they're like, oh man, like I know that this is a very normal thing that people get all the time. And I'm like, yeah, because it's a great idea. Because it's a great idea, dude. Like you could take a great idea and you redo it, Like think about a couch. I mean, a couch is just a couch, bro. Like you don't try to sit in something weird. They just keep redesigning it in more like different, prettier ways. But at the end of the day, it should look like a certain way because it works.
Yep.
And there's like, and I was like, dude, it's not wrong with getting a koi fish or a dragon or a tiger. It's done a million times, but it's iconic tattoo imagery and it looks good and it works. And I feel like that's fine.
That should be fun.
That should be
I want to
fine.
show you one example of, so there's one request that I got and I saved this picture for like to kind of like show like sometimes I get requests like this. So this guy wanted a portrait of his wife and he had this very like the picture itself, like if you look at the whole thing, it's nice. It's like she walking down like I think it was like a bridge or something. And I'm assuming she was like turning around and he wanted a portrait. So he didn't want like anything like around. He
Not
wanted
the scene, just
a
the
portrait of her face. So I screenshotted the face, and I'm like, "How do you imagine me tattooing this?"
It looks like
Minecraft.
yes.
Let me see.
Yeah. Oh my God. You should just tattoo that.
I would tattoo that actually. I would tattoo exactly that. Like pixel.
Get out of town. Get out of town. That's like,
Yeah.
I love the glare that's right in the middle of the photo.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it was
man.
glare might be it's me taking picture of
photo
a
of the screen?
computer or something. Yeah.
But that's wild. Guys, look at that. That is just wild.
Can I zoom out and see the whole thing?
Yeah, it probably looks like a picture of a person when it's zoomed out, but when it's zoomed in,
But I want you to get all that detail in there.
exactly. Yeah, I'm coming for you because you're very good with detail.
Like I can do detail that exists, not the.
I mean, like I can't do that. I can do exactly that. That's what that's what they're gonna get, and I think it would be hilarious.
Do you ever get anybody bringing you a photo, being like, I want this picture of my wife tattooed on me, but I don't want this angle. Can you do it straight on?
Oh yeah, I had like I want a portrait of my kid, but on the picture he looks to the left. Can you make him look to the camera?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've never met your kid. I don't know how he looks like. You know, like even if I did see him, like
You know
no.
what's wild though? I feel like AI's almost there.
Almost, yeah.
AI's almost there where you could probably give it a picture of somebody and you're going to get to the point where like, yeah, I want this person looking in the opposite direction completely. And it'll probably be able to render you something that's very close to realistic,
close.
like close to realistic, almost exact of the person. I mean, and at this point, imagine like in another 5 years.
Have you seen when people try to make pictures alive? They like
Yes.
download like old pictures, and
Yeah.
usually like the craziest, trippiest thing ever. It's like
It's super weird.
people morphing into like shapes and animals and into each other and like extra arms and.
I was playing around with some AI stuff and I put the picture of us on the green screen.
Yeah.
And I tried to get it to animate us and it looked okay until we like moved our mouths and then it got real weird and creepy. Like immediately I was like, oh, that looks like something out of like freaking a scary movie. Like it looked crazy.
That's what my dreams look like when I have jalapeno cheese before I go to bed. I don't know why. If I have a jalapeno cheese stick before bed, my dreams are wild.
Wild dreams.
Yeah. All right.
Where we at?
We're about due. We're good. You know what I liked about last week is we saved something for an after show. So you wanted to come on here. Is there anything that you wanted to specifically talk about?
Yes. I've seen a couple of clips of your podcast when you talk about tattooers with no tattoos.
Yeah.
And you're like, how is it possible? Why? How?
I meant to ask you that earlier. You
ask
brought
me
it up because I was like,
ask me questions.
All right, let's say that for the after show. That'll be the after show.
I'll have answers.
this will be the
as much-
after show, guys.
to,
We're like,
to the
one,
best of my ability.
do you have any tattoos?
I do not have any.
You don't have any
All right.
tattoos?
We're going to wrap
Haram.
this up. That's going to be our after show. All right. before we do that, I'm going to thank our Patreons because we have a couple to thank this week. Blue B and Evan R.
Yeah.
And then Rico Seja, he just joined, but we did a critique on him last week.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Rico.
Rico, I apologize if I'm remembering this wrong, but I feel like he may have been a member a while back and then maybe canceled and then came back. I think maybe. But regardless, thank you very much, all three of you.
Thank you guys so much.
If you want to be a part of the Patreon crew like those guys are, head over to patreon.com/honest tattooer and then select a tier that's appropriate for you. And then you'll be able to hear us yell at Goldy Z over here for not having any tattoos in the after show.
Let's talk about it.
Let's yell about it.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week. And if you're going to be in the after show, we're going to keep on going.
All right. See you then.
See you then.
Bye.